Hey, today we're going to talk about therapy. I've been in therapy for about 3 years now, and I didn't go to therapy before. I've never been in therapy. As far as I know, my family never went to therapy. I never had anybody around me. Parents, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, they never went to therapy, as far as I know. So I had no way of knowing what it was all about. And so I talked to a friend of mine about it after I was talking with her over COVID 2020 and had a breakdown myself. And it was a small little crying session. It felt like a breakdown, but really it was me crying for about 5 seconds. But it came out of nowhere. And honestly, I had been thinking about it for about 5 years previous. I couldn't admit defeat, I guess, is what I was trying to get into my head back then. I've always been a self-sufficient person. I've always been a self-starter, an autodidact. And so it felt like it would be failing if I were to go to therapy. I can do this, right? Typical guy thing to do. I can do this. I got this. Don't worry. Put it all on my shoulders. I'll go. And it was that little breakdown with my friend on the phone, but also this idea in my head that I couldn't get out of my head, which was I can't get out of my head. And it's an echo chamber. It's very, I was hyper vigilant. I was planning all these different disasters that were going to happen to me if I didn't try to figure it out. I had to try to figure it out all on my own, and I couldn't. So by a friend's advice, I went to Psychology Today, and this is not an ad for that, but go. That was a great place to go. You can look up therapists. You can look up what kind of therapy, whether it's narrative therapy, CBT, EMDR, all those fun little acronyms. I have been in therapy for 3 years. I've never been on a medication, but I know friends of mine and people I work with that do. Basically, it became all normalized to me. I got to talk more about it, and then I got to go. I tried some places first. I went to a couple free sessions, and I finally came upon and decided on the one that felt right to me. And it was really from a feeling of right. I worked through my traumas. I think we all have traumas, especially when we're dealing with the machinery that has conditioned us, right? And dealing with the educational system, the government, the culture, family, history, that's all tied up into that. And I worked through that with my therapist. And there are certain key lessons that I've learned along the way that I'd like to share with you. First off, therapy gave me options. It showed that I had options. Therapy, I've been living what I call like a keyhole existence where I knew what I was, I knew who I was, what I was doing, this is my plan, and this is what I'll do for the rest of my life. And in a lot of midlife transitions, when that break happens, whether it's from the outside as a divorce or a death or the loss of a job, or when it comes from you, when you're like, I'm done, I can't do this anymore. It comes from, in that second mode, that's where I went. I could not do this anymore. I needed to get help because I was so overwhelmed. And there were so many things going on. There was my own relationship with my art form that was crumbling away. There was my relationship with my job that I hated and I was hating more and more. And I was trying to make into something that was different. I had relationships with family and friends, romantic relationships that weren't even there that I was missing. So a lot was happening all at once. And therapy helped me to go into that space with her and find options. And I didn't think there was any options. And again, I talked about this in a previous video, but there was that moment where I went, you can do that? Or I didn't know you can do that. Or I can say that. I can be that. It comes in waves. It's that, again, I talked about that last time too. It comes in waves of, nah, I can't be that. Or, well, maybe I can be that, to, I think I could do that too. I'm doing that too. I've always been doing that. And it's this weird self-forgetting we have to keep getting over and realize that we're doing it and we can be whole. Another thing too was permission. My therapist gave me permission to be who I was in whatever mode, existence I was in. I came to her sometimes like, okay, now I'm going to lay into it. Now I'm going to, man, she's going to be so like, she's going to hate me. She's going to fire me because the stuff I'm going to tell her is so evil and terrible. And without even blinking an eye, she's like, okay. And it gave me permission to be that, first off, because I think that therapy offers a great third party atmosphere of safety and courageousness, right? I can't tell anybody this. I can tell you because they don't have any stake in the game, right? They don't know you, and they're getting to know you probably more intimately than anyone on this earth knows you, but they're not attached to outcome. They're not using you for something. It's not reciprocal. I come from a place of people pleasing. And so there was always this reciprocal, like, I have to please them, but then like I'm giving them like what do you call that? A quiet contract. Like, you have to be nice to me now too. And so therapy is not there for that. Give them everything, It gave me permission to be who I was. And what I was at that time, and for a lot of times, I was broken. I was tired, exhausted. I was frustrated. I was scared. There was one time where I gave her a little preamble, a little intro. Listen, I'm okay, but what I'm going to tell you and how I feel sounds like I'm going to explode. So don't worry, it's just my feelings. And then I told her how I felt, and what I was feeling was very like, I can't do this. I can't do this now. I expressed that, and I cried and I shared that, but I felt like I had to give her a little bit of an intro so she wouldn't be worried. That's part of the process too. But I just think that's kind of funny. Like, well, you're feeling something that's completely irrational and it would really worry somebody. Well, that was my problem. Was that part of my problem was I couldn't live my emotions in this way because I was afraid of how they would affect the other person. Or I thought that I would be made into a bad person, which I deep down thought I was. I don't think that anymore. But I understand where that feeling was coming from. And that's something else too that I learned in therapy is space. Is not only the space that we work in, the creative, safe space that me and her have created together, that I was comfortable with, and I had permission to be who I wanted to be and talk about my fears and my emotions with. But it was also the space that I was giving myself as I was working through these emotions. You get distance and space when you work on these things. You don't see them as like, oh, I'm a terrible person. You look at them more along the lines of, there's a part of me that feels this way. And then there's these feelings that feel this way. And that comes from a very old wiring program that we have to work with and unwire and untangle and accept. Acceptance is the next thing. Wholeness. Don't ever believe that anyone's going to give you the key to happiness. Happiness is not what personal work and self-work is about. It's not what responsibility and living a full life is about. Wholeness is what you have, because it's everything. Because there's always going to be suffering. And you can't stick your head in the sand like I did for such a long time. And I don't blame myself for that. It came from a self-defensive way of not wanting to be hurt from my past. But what I realized was, if you shut out the one part, if you shut out all that bad stuff, right? If you push it down like we've been trained to do as guys, if you push that away, it's not going to go away. It's going to come out sideways. Look at how it comes out for us as men. It comes out as suicide. It comes out as murder. It comes out as unchecked aggression. It comes out as we may get a little relief from football, playing it, watching it, or hockey, or whatever you're into, or maybe like horror flicks are your thing. There's different ways that we can do the shadow work, but to really sit with that and go, this is part of who I am, and I'll love you no matter what, like a parent to a child, and let me sit and listen to you. I think a mantra for me going forward as a result of therapy has been, all are welcome here. And I've been sitting lately with my fear, with my anger, with my doubt, with my grief, with everything. And I'll always repeat to myself when I'm sitting down and being present with how I feel, I always repeat, all are welcome here. Let me listen to you. Talk. I'm here to listen. And I think that's an immensely different person I was than what I was so long ago. So long ago. So long ago. And I'm just kind of taking it all in now, that journey, the journey that I took. And so it's about wholeness. It's about accepting all of that wholeness and really understanding who you are. And that's therapy. And I used to go once a week. Now I go every other week, and now I'm thinking once a month. But I've come to a point now where after 3 years, and it's different for everybody, just like midlife is different for everybody, but I feel more whole. I feel more accepting. I love who I am now. I really, truly do. Not just in that vain way. We have vanity, we have egotism. We work on that as people, but it's a love of self that I've always used to exercise with everyone else. I'll go to the bat with you. I will take a bullet for you. I will help you in any way I can, but I never helped myself. And I think that's just the key. And I think that you can only do so much out there if you haven't done anything in here. If you're not in therapy, or if you're not sitting with yourself, or at least reading up on self-work, or really trying to do something that connects you to yourself, right? That's the hard part. Because what's this path? What am I supposed to do? Well, I don't know. You're living it, right? But that is what therapy has done for me. And I'm a completely different person, but I'm the same person. It's that paradox. It's that second half paradox. And it's just acceptance of who I am, all of me, right? All my foibles. And I realized, and I'll close with this, I realized that that's where I was always, that's what I always wanted to do and wanted to be, right? I wanted to be these avant-garde artists. I wanted to be Tom Waits. I wanted to be Trent Reznor. I wanted to be Brian Eno. I wanted to be, Richard, somebody from Aphex Twin. I forgot his last name. I wanted to be these avant-garde artists, who I grew up reading and listening to, James Joyce and George Eliot and Emily Dickinson, Walt Whitman. I mean, it goes on and on, but I wanted to be them because they are so passionately them, They're not trying to be somebody else. They're trying to be themselves. And really, that takes a lot of courage, especially nowadays. Social media has made us even more boxed in and labeled. And I think it's so hard to get out there and be yourself because now there's so many different policing agencies out there telling you don't do that. But that's not where creativity comes from. That's not where authenticity comes from. And that's my little trip through therapy. That's how it's helped me in my own life and my midlife, and maybe it'll help it with you. So stay safe, be safe, take care, and I'll see you next time.